We're ready. Mr. Carpenter, please read the tribute. Oh, maybe we should wait. Okay. Morgan Spear, will you please read the tribute to Senator Angela Williams?
The Colorado Senate, convened in the second regular session of the 72nd General Assembly, hereby extends heartiest congratulations and commendations to Senator Angela Williams. Senator Williams was elected to serve in the 68th, 69th, 70th, 71st, and 72nd General Assemblies, where she represented her fellow citizens with honor and dignity. During her tenure with the Senate, she served with distinction as the chair of the Senate Business, Labor, and Technology Committee, the vice chair of the Local Government Committee, as well as a member of the Joint Technology Committee and the Committee on Legislative Counsel. Senator Williams also served on the Sales and Use Tax Simplification Task Force. The citizens of Colorado and the members of the Senate express gratitude for Senator Williams' exemplary service to our great state and wish her well in her future endeavors. Given this 12th day of June, 2020, signed by President Leroy M. Garcia.
Is there any discussion? Senator Fields.
Thank you, Madam President. It is a great honor and privilege to stand before you to talk to you about my good friend, my colleague. I'm missing her already. Since we returned back to the Capitol after being on a recess for 2 months, I can tell you that I miss you because you were always right there when I had a question or if I needed to lobby you on my bill. And you would always ask these very deep, provoking questions in reference to what does the bill do and how would it impact that and this and that. I just want to thank you for being the friend and the colleague that you've been over the course of time. We came to the General Assembly together as freshmen. We were elected in 2010, and we started serving in 2011. I can remember the first time I met you because I was just considering running for office and you were already in a race. You had just won your primary, and it was a very competitive primary. And you were so generous with sharing all of the details about what it takes to win the race. When I looked at your literature, it was so professional, it was so glossy, it was so on point. Everything was well coordinated, and I was trying to think to myself, how do I pull off something like this? Because it was such a high standard and bar that you set for yourself to win your race. I've been quietly watching you during the time that you have served down here. And one of the things that I know about you is you have served on 3 key fronts. One has been the business community. One has been the Black community. I have always respected how you integrated public policy with young people. You would always bring them down, and there was this one bill that you had about the lemonade stand. You probably remember that because I think the police department wanted them to have a license, and you thought that wasn't fair. Senator Williams is a negotiator. And she knows how to get the job done to support the needs of whatever the bill policy is all about. So she really does celebrate families and kids, and she wants to see them engaged. And those kids were so excited that they were a part of the process. And there was another bill where she incorporated with young people. This was a bill that was to identify, was it the state fruit or bird or something? I can't remember what it was. But once again, I think it's important that we give young people engaged in our process in politics early on. The other thing that is important to Senator Williams is diversity and equity. You know, she has run more than once this disparity study We finally got that done. And she wasn't going to give up until we were able to get that work done. Now the governor has finally signed that. We still have work to do. I haven't seen the results of that study. But the goal and the intent was to see how we can increase the number of minorities doing business with the state. Because far too often we're not getting many of those contracts. What I enjoy most about Senator Williams is that she's very self-aware. She knows who she is and she knows where she's going. I already mentioned that she is a very good negotiator. She also leans forward. You can count on her to be always engaged in the topic. And when she says no, she means no. And if she changes her mind, she's going to let you know that, but pretty much her no means no. She works extremely hard, and one of her passions has always been a focus on business. As you know, she's the chair of Business and Labor here in the Senate, and she served in that capacity also in the House. So she has a strong passion and affiliation with the business community. And that's one thing I've tried to do myself, is to make sure the policies that I'm running doesn't have a negative impact on small businesses or big businesses. So I really thank you for your focus on business, and not just business, but labor. I mean, she really is concerned about the worker, making sure that work practices are fair, and that also includes the practices as it relates to housing. She's done some amazing work as it relates on housing. Because back when we joined the House of Representatives, that's when we were having a lot of foreclosures. And she took that issue up to make sure that we could keep people in their homes. Thank you, Senator Williams, for that work. Then in 2014, she ran a bunch of bills on rebuilding trust as it relates with law enforcement. This was shortly after the incident that happened in Ferguson, when you had Michael Brown get shot down in the street, and people were raising their hands and they were saying, "Don't shoot." She wanted to make sure that we would never, ever see anything like that in the state of Colorado in our streets. It didn't matter if it was Denver, Aurora, Colorado Springs, or what have you. So she ran a package of bills. One of them was law enforcement using body cams. This was way back in 2014. She was already doing that work. She wanted to ensure another bill that came out was House Bill 1287 that talked about police officers training and improvement. And that was all about making sure that we had certification as it relates to de-escalation, and also making sure that we would promote diversity, so we would have more law enforcement officers that look like people of color. That bill passed. Then there was another bill, it was a Senate bill, which was the disclosure of unfavorable personnel practices. We integrated that in 2017, so now it's going to be something that we're going to build on, and it was an idea that she had back then. Police shooting data was another bill that she ran. Once again, very concerned about what's going on as it relates to justice and policing in our community, so I really respect that. So that was on the policing front, but on the business front, she's been a fierce negotiator on so many different levels. Broadband, I remember when that came in, we were in the House. Tough topic that includes the cooperation of integrated people trying to get the policy right. She's done that. She's done so much as it relates to business, as it relates to alcohol beverage license and real estate. Remember last session, we did not pass that family leave bill, but she did get the bill passed where we were going to have a study to see how we could move forward with making sure that family leave would be available for those who had that need. I can go on and on and on in reference to her contributions, because they're many. We run in a lot of the same circles because we're kind of Denver Metro. I'm Aurora, she's Denver. So whenever there's issues or receptions or things going on in the community, she would be there, I would be there, and we represented our community. So I want to let you know, Senator Williams, that I'm going to deeply miss you. And you guys might not know this, but Senator Williams is also the founder of the Colorado Black Caucus. I'm not quite sure when it was established, but she is the architect behind the Black Caucus. And at the time, we only have 5 members. Now we have 8. But basically, she wanted to make sure that we would work together, responding to our community's needs as it relates to the Black Caucus. And we have sponsored and supported so many bills because we host meetings in the community and they kind of tell us what their concerns are, and we try to rally those issues and those policies right here. We wouldn't have a Black Caucus if she wouldn't have written the charter. So we are officially chartered, we're licensed, we have funds that are available to support some of the work that we're doing, and she did all that. Now, right now, the caucus is chaired by Representative Leslie Herod. I'm the vice chair. And so on behalf of the Black Caucus, we want to present you with this lovely portrait right here. I don't know if you can see this portrait, but this portrait is a local artist. And this local artist has designed a picture of George Floyd, who lost his life about 20 days ago. He was just buried this week on Monday. All the members of the Black Caucus has signed this. Your name will be embossed on the frame with your years of service and for your commitment as it relates to justice, not only in policing, but every aspect, every corner of quality, equality, and justice across our state. Thank you for your service, Senator Williams, and we miss you already.
Senator Lee. Senator Lee, I believe you're muted. We can't read your lips.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Okay, so Senator Lee, I don't know if you had already started, but I'm going to ask you to rewind and start again. It's always nice to hear your voice, and it's wonderful to see you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And actually, Senator Fields gave the speech that I was going to give. So you've already heard what I was going to say, but let me just hit a couple of the high points on it, and that is Senator Williams and Senator Fields and I came in together in 2010, and I was immediately impressed with her skill and perseverance when she became chair. We served in the minority together, and I think we all learned a lot from serving in the House in the minority. I think you learn how to treat people when you serve in the minority. When we took the majority, she became the chair of the business committee. And I must say, I received texts and emails from the business community in Colorado Springs saying it is wonderful that we have a chair of the business committee who actually meets with the leaders of the business committee. I think then Representative Williams would set up regular meetings with the leaders of the business community to get their input and their concerns and to be able to frame the issues and legislation to serve their needs. So commendations, and I learned a lot from you about how to run a committee by engaging in stakeholder work. I think what was truly an astonishing achievement was your rebuilding trust, which Senator Fields mentioned previously. That was the edifice upon which the law enforcement accountability bill that we're all so proud of passed. You took on the really tough issues, profiling and distrust between in the communities, and you took them on head on. So you led that effort and built a foundation back then. I do not believe without the work that you did on that rebuilding trust package, would we have been able to get this bill through that we have done now. So I commend you for the work that you have done. You have been a true leader. You, as Senator Fields said, stick to your guns, and you are a fierce advocate, and you are just a downright enjoyable person to work with. So I wish you well. It's been a great decade working with you. My life has been enriched and improved by knowing you, Senator Williams. Thanks for all you've done for all of us in Colorado.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Senator Williams, for letting me work with you. I came up here to give you a compliment, but thanks to Rachel, the pressure's pretty high right now. I just want to say, I was thinking back to last session when we just kind of had our little transition with the business committee. How much fun you made the transition by including me in it. I don't know how to say other than that. The lemonade stand bill, having the labor and business caucuses and inviting me along to participate as a co-equal. That just shows just a degree of thoughtfulness and professionalism that I don't, just because now that I know how I think or now that I have a mirror in front of me, I realize I'm not exactly as thoughtful like that. And I just really appreciate that. It just very thoughtful. And I think it shows everyone the kind of legislator you are and the kind of person you are. And I just want to thank you for that. And I'll miss our relationship on a day that we have done here, and hopefully in our new adventures with a higher level of compensation we make here, we'll be crossing paths quite a bit. And so I'm going to miss you, and hopefully I'll see you in the next phase of our career very soon.
Senator. Senator Pedersen.
Thank you, Madam President, and wanted to be able to say a few words, Angela, to thank you for your mentorship. When I first was elected in 2012, I got to know Angela on the campaign trail before that. And I showed up to the Capitol, and I remember barely being able to walk up the marble steps with my high heels. It was almost like trying to dress professionally, wearing heels. It was all very new to me. And I remember Angela would always give me fashion advice whenever I'd ask. If you know, Angela is always dressed to the nines. But also, more importantly, you mentored me on how to take a big, hairy issue and find a path through. You are one of the most effective legislators at seeing exactly where the pieces are on the chessboard and what you need to do to pass some of the most complicated bills. And so I'm happy to have worked on numerous ones with you, but also 911, you worked on bills where nobody could actually find a path, and you were able to make it happen. Even just yesterday, I called her on bills that we're still going to be debating on the floor now. today and really tried to talk to her about strategy because she's brilliant. You are a very effective legislator. I know that we're gonna miss your efficient committees, your strategy, your heart. But I know we've talked a lot about what we give up to be down here and what it means to serve and what that does on the other things that we care deeply about in our life. And at some point, like Angela, you recognize that you're ready to get back to life, and to her life, and that's what she said. So, Angela, thanks for mentoring me. We're gonna miss you and look forward to hearing about your adventures outside of the legislature.
Mr. President.
Well, thank you, Madam President, and I want to be able to see my good colleagues I'm going to face and turn towards you. Senator Williams, boy, it's been great serving with you, my friend. When I first went into the House, got to know you a little bit because obviously our offices were next door to each other, and I, of course, was with Representative Vigil. We shared an office over there in the House. I've always appreciated from the time I met you your willingness to collaborate, to seek compromise, but still hold your values. I know that is a difficult thing to do when you're a legislator, and yet you do it so well. As the chair of the Business Committee, you did a great job of helping respect the values of business, but at the same time looking out for the interests of labor and being supportive, and I thank you for that. But there's one thing that I always remember about you, and you'll chuckle when I tell you this story. When I first went to the House, the good senator had a wonderful bill called Palisade Peaches. She was working to make that the new state fruit. And it had gone all the way through the process when it got to the floor. And of course, that had not gone to Ag Committee, so I hadn't had a chance to read it and review it. I remember I went over to her office, and I was just a freshman, and said, Representative Williams, I have some concerns with this bill. And she said, what's your concerns? I said, well, why wouldn't it be the Pueblo green chili? And she chuckled, and she says, are you really going to work against me on this bill? And I said, absolutely. And so we put together a coalition from Southern Colorado. And of course, then Representative Navarro introduced amendment after amendment, like, how about it be cantaloupes? And what about this? And I remember the headline down in the Public Chieftain was, Garcia fighting for Pueblo green chili to be the state fruit. And Angela was just like, what is going on with this bill? It was so much fun. Sadly, for her, we defeated the bill. But I remember seeing her the very next day. She came over, put her arm around me and said, did a great job. And, we became really good friends. We've had a lot of great conversations over the years, a couple of good cigars. I will miss you, my friend. You've been a great addition to this Senate, and I wish you the very, very best.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Madam President. And Senator Williams, where can I begin? I will miss you so very much. As the chair of Business Committee, you ran it as efficiently and as a business itself. It was a real pleasure, especially when we're in the minority, to know that we would not spend a lot of time dallying on wasting time on excess testimony and folks that were just indulging in the conversation. We understood the issues on the bill, we asked the correct questions, and we got in and moved on to other issues at hand. I will definitely miss your smiling face in the morning and going over and saying hi and checking in. And I hope to see your smiling face, given we both live in relatively the same part of the metro area in the future. You always conducted yourself, in my opinion, with the utmost in professionalism. And I could tell you had a background in business, not only on how you operated as the chair of the Business Committee, but also in how you worked your bills and worked coalitions and just presented yourself. And I've appreciated that the entire time we've worked together. I also enjoyed our work on the death penalty issue and our discussions about our shared Catholic faith. And I will cherish that work and the victory we had in the end till the day I die. I'm proud that I was part of your disparity studies, and that was finally passed into law. But I will have to say probably the favorite issue we worked on for those 2 years was electric vehicles. And we finally passed Senate Bill 77, working hard together to count our votes and to work the coalitions to make sure the bill was in just the right place for the consumers of the state of Colorado. Senator Williams, I count you as a friend, and although we've known each other for almost 10 years and worked together, it's gone very fast, and I hope to have you in my life as an influence going forward. I wish you well.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Madam President. You know, I think I was involved with Angela on some of the broadband bills, but my fondest memories of her on Colorado Politics magazine at the Brown Palace with big cigars, smoking with Kevin Grantham. That was precious, you know. And I thought, here's a lady that she is a go-to lady for a lot of business issues, but she had a great sense of humor, or has a great sense of humor. This eulogy stuff kind of gets to you after a while, but it's been a pleasure serving with you for all these years. You know, when I hear the name Angela Williams, I think lady best describes her, because she's a true lady. You know, she is very passionate about what she does, and she will, forever be embedded in my memories of this place. Again, best of luck, Angela, and it's been great serving with you.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. On opening day, I commented, Senator Williams, thank you for your friendship and the beautiful tribute to the Buffalo soldiers that you presented here at the Capitol. You won our first term bet. You became a committee chair before I did, but I made chamber leadership before you. I guess you won on both accounts. I will miss serving with you. I worked in this Capitol from 2002 to 2008, took a couple of years off before I ran. I had my first 5-bill list years before I was elected. I knew what I wanted to do when I got here. I knew how to do this job, and I'm not here to talk to you about me so much, but there was one person in my, I try not to use the word freshman, but that new legislator class, those of us who were elected in 2010. There was one person who I didn't know before I ran, and as soon as I started working with her, I thought, she's going to be a committee chair. She's going to be in leadership. She is brilliant. She's going to learn this job quickly. There was one person in my class with whom I was extremely impressed from the very beginning. I don't know, Angela, if you could hear that, but Don just said, thanks, Chris. It wasn't Don Quorum. It was Angela Williams. That first year, Representative Williams invited some of that class to her home. She opened the doors of her home, and You know, we talk about friends here, but really the test is, have you been in that person's home? And Angela opened her home. I remember then Representative Robert Ramirez and I were there, and she just welcomed us. Sometimes I reach back into my past and the lessons and the importance, the depth. It grabs my heart and it stops my voice and I start to crack. We've talked before, remembering the words of Dr. King. And I've tried to express before that my mom taught me that way. Not to judge people based on the color of their skin, but the content of their character. That's what I see in Angela Williams. I didn't know her well when we first were elected, but I could see content in her character. We served on the House Business Committee together, and I really wanted to be chair of that before her, and I never got a chance to, but I did serve on that committee when she became chair. And shame on me. I caught her once. One of the members was out of the room, and I could just kind of casually, yeah, I object, and she took a vote, and not realizing that one of her members was out, and the motion died on a tie, and there were two bills tied together, and it created this big mess. But she forgave me. She understood it was part of the strategery, the tactics of being in the minority, and she didn't hold that against me. As chair of the House Business Committee one day, she cast the deciding vote that killed a bill being carried by a member of her caucus, a bill that I very clearly opposed. She took some heat, I think, from her caucus. She took some heat from advocates outside the Capitol. And my former employer, a trade association, I left there in 2008, so it had been 3 or 4 years since I'd worked for them. They called and asked, we want to do something for Angela Williams. What should we do? And I said, hold a fundraiser for her. I don't know how many of you have encouraged an organization to hold a fundraiser for somebody on the other side of the aisle, but Angela Williams has extraordinary character, and I didn't hesitate. When we came to the Senate, I got to be chair of the Senate Business Committee. As I mentioned earlier, Senator Tate got to do that. That was really the only chair position that I really wanted. I would have loved to have been chair or vice chair of House Business, but when I was outside the glass, I frankly spent more time up here in the Senate committee rooms with some of the greats like Jennifer Vega and Lois Tocktrop. When I got to take that gavel, I remembered some of those prior chairs. And now there's been another great one, Angela Williams. And I want to mention something that I won't go in depth because I don't want to ruffle feathers and I don't understand, but what's happened here in Angela's political career over the past year, I don't understand. I was sad. But again, it's not my place. I'm not a member of the party. I'm not a member of the caucus. But I was sad to see it happen. And I was sad when my friend said that she wasn't going to run again. I'm really excited to serve with Representative James Coleman because I think he's outstanding. And I wouldn't want to compare Representative Coleman with Senator Williams. It'll work out. But I'm sad that my classmate and my friend, Angela Williams, won't be here on my last day. Angela, I am proud to be here on yours. I wish it wasn't today. I wish it was 2 years from now and you might be up here saying some kind word about me. But please don't be a stranger here. Please don't be a stranger to me. I thought, as a Republican from Douglas County, when I saw Representative Williams, I thought that she'd be the mayor of Denver or the congresswoman from the 1st Congressional District, or a U.S. Senator, or President of the United States, or whatever the hell she decided she was going to go do. Because I've seen the content of her character, and I'm better for it. Angela, thank you for your service here. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being a trusted ally in this dynamic, confusing, hectic place. God bless you and your service to the people of Colorado.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Angela Williams. Angela, the first time I met you, I was scared to death of you. And many years later now, I'm still scared to death of you. Because you are the most driven and confident individual I think I have ever met or come in contact with. And you are somebody who knows what you want, and when you decide on what that is, you have a target and you go after it with every atom in your body. And it's incredibly inspiring to see you work a bill, whether you're scurrying on our side or their side, giving everybody equal opportunity to be a part of your bill. You're just absolutely obsessed with winning and doing the right thing through the legislative process. And it's not just been something that has helped with a Democratic agenda, but I think in so many ways it's just simply helped with the Angela agenda, which is sometimes not Democratic, sometimes not Republican, but maybe somewhere in the middle, and you've sort of created your own brand. And not a lot of people can do that. I think a lot of people maybe come down here without a brand, and they decide which side they're on of whatever the issue is or whatever, and they start to embody that brand, that sort of profile. Whereas I think you, in a lot of ways, came here with your own brand, and you're going to be leaving here very much still with your own brand. And that's incredibly impressive. The breadth of the issues that you've worked on, whether it's violence in your community, whether it's integrity in law enforcement, whether it's the still don't really know what the sales tax and use simplification process continues to be, but you are all about it, and you are the driver behind that. The breadth and the depth of the issues that you have taken on, learned a lot about, whether it was because it was something you did before your career in public service, and so you just had a knack for it and you knew about it, or it was something that you absolutely learned as the quick study that you are here at the legislature, and quickly became a leader on that issue. I'm not sure what you're going to do next, and as many said, we're going to miss you, and we are sad that you're leaving before the Constitution requires you to leave. But I know the tenacity that you've given to this job. If you have 10% of that with what you do next, you're going to be incredibly successful. And I hope, whatever it is that you do next, I hope you continue to scare the hell out of people. Because it is the thing that is one of your most powerful tools, because when people meet you, they're not scared of you, they're scared of how much confidence and how sure you are of what is the right thing. And we all know that when you get laser focused on what it is, on that goal, that you will succeed in the end. And so whatever you do next, we know you'll be successful. We know you won't be far. We know we'll continue to see you at all of the events and the fundraisers and everything like that in the community. And we know you're not going to be a stranger. And really, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank you for everything you have done to improve people's lives, for delivering on so many of the issues that maybe people expected you to deliver on, but also so many of the issues you took on and became a leader on that were not expected of you, but you made the difference and you got something done, you made deals, and it will have a lasting impact on so many people's lives in the state of Colorado. So thank you.
Senator Williams is recognized.
Oh, well, can everyone hear me? Wave your hand, Mr. President. Can you hear me okay? You know, I want to thank everyone for your kind remarks. I could never have imagined that my last day and ending my legislative career would be virtually. I would have loved to have been there in person, but let's thank God for technology. And I'm glad to be here with you today. And members, I just want to say that I view life as a journey. And in my 10 years of serving at the legislature, alongside each and every one of you, has been one of the greatest journeys of my life. When I decided to run for office, I never thought in a million years that I would run for public office. I was happy running my own business, but I heard the call to public service. And I can recall my first experience at the state capitol, and one of the organizations that I worked with, many of you know I had an Allstate insurance and financial services company, had asked me to come down to the Capitol to testify on behalf of small businesses and property and casualty insurance. And I can remember going into one of the committee rooms on the 3rd floor, and it just felt like this gigantic room, bigger than a boardroom, and this table where I was way on one end of the table, and the other end, felt like it was so long I was yelling. But that was my real experience, my first experience at the state capitol. And so I began to testify on behalf of small businesses there. And it just came into, kind of evolved itself where people start saying, you know, we need that voice at the state capitol. And, you know, I ran because we needed a small business voice at the state capitol. And I don't know how many of you remember this, and I know the class of 2010 probably remembers this, but when I ran for office, we would not have had the African American voice at the state capitol. Speaker Terrence Carroll was termed out. And so that was another call. And I just couldn't imagine this institution not having an African American voice being represented at the state capitol. And that's when Senator Fields and I were elected. So we started with 2. And my vision was that out of 100 legislators, that we needed more than the 2 of us. And that's when I founded the Black Democratic Legislative Caucus. And now we are the historic 8. And I look forward to my colleagues coming after me, continuing to grow the voice of African Americans serving at the state capitol. you know, Kevin and Chris mentioned this, and, you know, we've all served in the minority or the majority over in the House. And for those of you who haven't, I think it's great that you haven't, but I'll tell you, serving in the minority will clearly humble you and it will teach you some lessons. And so I am appreciative of my friends across the aisle. And even that journey was a true learning to understand how to navigate both sides of a conversation when you're in the minority. And many mention this, that I've always prided myself in teaching our young people and our students about the legislative process. I wanted to have them experience what we do as public officials, how the legislative process works, far, far younger than I did. And I think Senator Fields mentioned this, but I had some students at Stedman Elementary come to me and they wanted to name the tiger salamander as the state salamander. And I had never been more excited to work with our students and teach them the legislative process. And so now the tiger salamander is our state salamander. And Senator Garcia, you've already mentioned Palisade peaches. And it's funny because I think great minds think alike. When I remembered how I came over to your office, and I couldn't believe you were going to work against me on Palisade peaches. It was the same kids from Stedman Elementary that went through that process. It became cantaloupe. But when Senator Garcia came in and talked to me about Pueblo chilies, of course, I had to go research it. And to this day, I don't think chilies are fruits. I think they're vegetables the way that they're categorized. But the students learned that you're not always victorious, and they had to understand how we work. And they understood the legislative process. They understood counting votes, and they understood and learned that there was wins and there was losses. And Senator Tate, one of my most favorite bills was lemonade stands and entrepreneurs and kidpreneurship that we ran last year. The joy on those kids' faces of what we did to help them so that they were not fined or they had to tear down their lemonade stands or their cookie stands. Thank you for joining me with that endeavor. And Senator Fields, I'm going to step back a little bit to when we were in the House. And we had our first African American Youth Day at the Capitol. It was one of the things we decided as a Black caucus that we also had to expose kids of color to what we do. And I'll never forget the picture. We had 65 kids or more dressed up in their suits, young ladies in their dresses. And these are young kids, like 6 and 7-year-olds, sitting on the floor for the first time in history. African-American students sitting next to legislators. Many of them had never stepped foot in this building that we serve in. And so I want to encourage you, Senator Fields, to continue that legacy of exposing our young people. I have to speak to a time in which I think what I'm going to miss most is spending time in the district. You know, I love my constituents, and I know they love me. But whether it was knocking doors, House district meetings, you know, we have this famous 4th of July parade in Park Hill. And I have to give a shout out to the firefighters, because for 9 years, they showed up with the fire truck. the antique fire truck at the Park Hill Parade, whether it was the Juneteenth parade or the House District 8 spaghetti dinner. I just love spending time with my constituents and understand the challenges that they thought we faced and how important it was for me to bring that back to you all and how we can improve life for Coloradans. My faith and my family has guided me in the last 10 years. And as I said, I think life is a journey. And I have been so blessed to be on this journey with you and my friends in the House of Representatives. But this journey has ended. And I just want you all to know that I'm at peace with where I am now. This journey ends and another begins. And while I'll miss you, I'm excited about what the next journey may hold for me. So in closing, I just want to thank you. I want to thank my colleagues. I want to thank my friends and all who have walked this journey with me. I want to thank publicly my son, Brandon. And my son, Brandon, started this journey with me when he was a teenager. And he's been with me all the way. My mother and my father. My dad is now 93 years old, and my mother is 87. And they actually, when I was sworn in as a senator, my dad sat in my chair. It was the proudest moment of my life to have my family there. And I want to thank my brothers and my sisters for all their unconditional love and support. And thank you to my constituents for the opportunity to serve. So if I leave you with something, I just want to leave you with three things. One, no matter where we're from or who we represent, representation matters. I want to always, always ask you to stay true to yourself. Because if you're not true to yourself, you can't be true to your constituents. Stay in touch with yourself and take care of yourself. And then lastly, I think it's so important that no matter how complex or how hard it gets, as you continue to represent the people of Colorado, is to carry yourselves as stateswomen and statesmen. It's been an honor to serve with you, and thank you for this time.
Thank you, Senator Williams.